Hello class, this is a video that I've made to teach you a little bit about compare and contrast essays. That is going to be the assignment that you'll complete when you finish watching this video. So first of all, I want to talk about what is a compare and contrast essay. A compare and contrast essay is when you are looking at the similarities and the differences of two or more things. For example, in this Venn diagram, which is a great graphic organizer to use for a compare and contrast essay, we are comparing middle school to elementary school. And then on the left side, underneath middle school, we talk about all of the things that are unique to middle school. Unique meaning that they only happen in middle school. You change classes, you have band and chorus, you change clothes for gym class. And then on the right side, the things that are unique about elementary school. In elementary school, you have only one teacher, you have a smaller building, and there's a lot more cute bulletin boards in elementary school. And then in the middle, we have space to write the things that are the same. So in both middle school and in elementary school, you have teachers, there are still students, and you still eat in the cafeteria. So that's a simple example, but it shows what the comparing and contrast essay format should follow. So once you get your planning done through a Venn diagram or some other kind of graphic organizer, and you've got all your notes taken down, then there's two different strategies you can use to actually write your essay. So the first is called block arrangement. So in a block arrangement essay, if you're comparing two things, you're going to say everything you know about one thing and then say everything you know about the other thing. For example, in our previous example, you would describe everything you know about middle school and then tell everything you know about elementary school, and throughout that you'd be highlighting the differences, but you would only be talking about one at a time. So you'd be blocking your different topics out. And the other format, which I think prefer in most cases, is a point-by-point format. And in this format, you would describe teachers in middle school and how they're different from teachers in elementary school, how they are similar to teachers in elementary school and in middle school. Then you might move on to a different subtopic. Like then you might talk about the cafeteria and how in cafeteria in elementary school and in middle school are similar in certain ways, and then you talk about how they're different. So now we're going to look at an actual essay, and we're going to look at how this essay is formatted. So first we're going to read the essay, and then we're going to determine is it a block format or is it a point-by-point format. Now hopefully you can read the words on this essay, but I'm going to read it to you just so that you can see the format that it follows. It says, people are always looking forward to their vacation period. There are many options where to choose. I think that the two most common places people choose for taking a vacation are the beaches and the mountains. So at that point we know that this is the compare and contrast essay between the beach and the mountains. Our first sentence in our introduction, it goes ahead and tells us exactly what we're going to be talking about. Both places offer a variety of fun activities. There's a similarity. The beach offers activities that the mountains cannot offer, and vice versa. The mountains and the beach are totally different. The purpose of this essay is to contrast the climate, types of activities, and locations of beaches and mountains. I'm going to discuss mountains first. The three aspects I'm going to discuss are, I apologize, there's a big space there for some reason. The three aspects I'm going to discuss are climate, types of activities, and location. Climate is always important in order to enjoy vacations. If a person dislikes cold weather, he or she may have a hard time in the mountains. The cold climate in the mountains is the first barrier to enjoying them. But the climate and the temperature of these zones also determines the types of activities they offer. Snowboarding, mountain climbing, mountain biking, hiking, and skiing are some of the activities people can enjoy when going to the mountains. There are many regions that have mountains where people can go and have a great vacation. Canada is a country located in North America and contains many mountain vacation sites where people can go and have fun. I'm going to discuss the beach second. The three aspects I'm going to discuss are climate, types of activities, and location. Warm climate is one of the most important features that the beach has. Sun and fun are two words that describe the beach. The temperature in those places is also hot. The sea and the warm climate determine the activities that are available at the beach. People can swim, play volleyball, play soccer, and ride water bikes. In most coastal sites, there are discos and restaurants where people can dance or party throughout the night. Mexico offers many amazing coastal sites to visit. Acapulco and Cancun are two of the most beautiful and famous beaches in the world. It doesn't matter what place a person decides to choose. The fun is 100% guaranteed. People often choose one of these two options to spend their vacations. Depending on what the person likes is what he or she will choose. I like the beach better than the mountains, but sometimes it is better to take a risk and try a different place to enjoy. So, going back through that essay and thinking about how it was organized, we're going to go back and look at what did they discuss in that second paragraph. Did they discuss just climate in both the beach and the mountains, or did they discuss everything about the mountains and then everything about the beach? And as you've probably already figured out, this is a block format essay where they have they've said everything they wanted to say about the mountains and then said everything they want to say about the beach. So now we're going to look at another essay. In this essay, we are going to break it down in a different way. So this essay is going to be point by point. So as I read it, notice how we are grouped together in subcategories and we're not talking all about one thing and then the next. It says, eating is an activity that we as humans do at least 2 times a day. We live in a world where the variety of food is immense, and we are responsible for what we eat. We describe what we are about to eat and how it will affect our bodies. The purpose of this essay is to compare and contrast the differences between eating fresh foods instead of canned foods. The 3 main differences are flavor, health benefits, and cost. So right there in the introduction, we know what we're comparing here. We're comparing eating fresh foods and eating canned foods. So, and they've kind of overviewed the things they're going to talk about. The most notable difference between these 2 kinds of foods is their flavor. Fresh foods have great flavor and taste because they keep all their natural conditions. Canned foods, however, lack a lot of its flavor characteristics because there are some other chemical products added to the natural foods. It is logical that the fresh foods will have a greater taste and flavor when consumed just because of the time in which they have been prepared. So we're going to talk about, right there they talk about fresh foods and canned foods, but the whole paragraph is focused on flavor. Comparing both types of foods, we notice another difference. There is a health factor that affects both of them. Canned foods lose some of their original fresh food nutrients when stored, and also it has to be tinned with many conservatives and chemical factors that prolong the shelf life and apparent freshness of the food, but could also become toxic if consumed too often. So here, this paragraph is focused on health content. So our paragraphs are grouped very intentionally on purpose, but we're organizing them differently in these 2 different examples. And also notice the length of the paragraphs. They're not forever long. They have about 4 or 5 sentences in each paragraph, so you need to think about, okay, I can only put about 4 or 5 sentences in a paragraph, so what is this paragraph going to focus on? Yet another difference between these 2 types of foods is the cost. Canned foods are much more expensive than fresh foods. Here, the benefit of buying tinned foods is that they are easier to find. For example, in a supermarket, instead of the market like the fresh foods, and they require less work to prepare than fresh foods. Just open and serve. And now here's our conclusion where they're going to sum it all up together. Here are the main differences between buying fresh foods and buying canned foods. As we can see, it comes down to a personal choice, based on the time each person has, the money, and the importance he or she gives to his or her nutrition and health. Therefore, it is important that you consider your possibilities and choose the best type of foods for your convenience and lifestyle. It kind of sounds repetitive in our conclusion, which makes them hard to write at times, but don't be afraid to repeat yourself a little bit because you need to go back and restate those points. Don't forget to include your introduction and conclusion. You may want to, I have down here at the bottom, it says sometimes a writer will save their introduction and conclusion until they've written the body of their essay, and so it may be a good thing to wait until you're done writing the meat of your essay and go back and add a conclusion, because that way you won't forget to include all of your major points. But you must include an introduction, and your introduction should be distinct from the rest of your essay. So you should have a paragraph introduction and then start the main body of your essay. The conclusion, it's very similar to your introduction, and if you'd like to, you can go back and look at these essays and notice that those introductions are very similar to the conclusion. Lastly, this is not a 5-paragraph essay. I don't want you to feel like you have to keep your essay in a 5-paragraph format. You need an introduction and a conclusion, but depending on your topic that you choose, you are going to need potentially more than just 3 body paragraphs. So you can write as much as you need to. Most of the time you'll need more than 5 paragraphs. So even if you choose to write in block format, all of your information for one thing does not need to go in the same paragraph. Like if we were writing about middle school and elementary school, going back to our original example, we would probably not include everything about middle school in one paragraph. We would talk a lot of different things about middle school and then move on and write a couple of different paragraphs about elementary school. So just remember that this is not a very restrictive format, and I want you to feel free to write as much as you need to, and be sure to break your ideas up into those paragraphs to make it make sense to your reader. It makes your reader less tired if you continue to give them new paragraphs with new focused topics to read about. It just makes it sound better, and it makes it easier to read. I also want you to think about your audience when you read. Who is going to be reading this essay? If it's written for your teachers, then you want to make sure that you are writing it with keeping in mind what your teacher already knows. And if it's written for students, like if your assignment is to write an essay directed at 3rd grade students, think about what a 3rd grader might know. And you may have to explain a few more things if you're writing to a 3rd grader than if you're writing to your teacher. So, if you need to review any of the topics in this presentation, you're welcome to rewind or fast forward and go back and look at any of the parts again if you need any refreshers. Thanks for listening.